Hello and welcome back to Coffee and Contemplation with Susan. This is episode 31 and it's the first episode for 2021. I am a life and business coach as well as a mentor operating out of Noosa in the Sunshine Coast, Queensland. And I started this podcast just about almost a year ago, and it's now had over 1,500 listens. It's been listened to in over 8 countries. So I'm pretty happy to see that people's stories are being shared and that people are even telling me little snippets of some of the episodes that they've liked. The point of the podcast is real people sharing stories, showing their human side, their darkness that they may have gone through, and the light that results from life experiences, some of their inspiration and what they're working on, and what really matters to them. The point is that we all have stories inside our head, and I think sometimes we listen to our own stories and think we might be alone, but I think it's really important for us to listen to stories from other people, and it just might make it something else, shed a different light on what you're thinking about at the moment. Obviously, I coach women, so I hear stories every day, and I absolutely love it. And then we delve in deeper, and we see where that person might be able to make better choices and make changes towards what their biggest dreams are. What I do is I usually send out questions to the guests beforehand so that they've got an idea. Nowadays, I actually also get to have a bit of more of an understanding. Say, for instance, today, the guest that I've got on is someone that I didn't know beforehand personally. So I like to have that chat, and then I shape some questions for them to have a little bit of contemplation themselves first, which is also another benefit. I'm asking people from every decade of life, so starting from 10 years old to 19-year-old, and I am still, and I will find someone in the 100-year-old to 109-year-old bracket at some stage. So it's also that cross-generational storytelling. And I think, we miss that in our culture nowadays, that young people don't necessarily get to hear how a 90-year-old grew up and, what was their life like. And, the 80-year-old who, was born the same week that World War II began. Today, I've reached back into the circle of guests, and they know the theme and the idea behind the Coffee and Contemplation with Susan, and who I'm inviting on. I said, who else are you inspired by? Because obviously when you connect with these type of people that I've had on, they generally do hang out with other pretty cool people. So today's guest is referred by Lisa Williams from episode 11. Lisa was a woman whose motto was throw out the rule book on parenting. And she has recommended that her sister, Jodie, come on. Jodie was born in Cooroy, just in the hinterland here behind Noosa, and she spent her whole life in Noosa. She's 5th generation, and that is a rare thing to find of a woman of her age. She's in her 40s. She does so much, and she inspired me just listening to her. We did actually do a recording last week, so this is a re-recording because the sound of her cafe just went through the roof when they suddenly got torrential rain out in Kin. Jodie is the founder of Black Ant Gourmet. As I said, she does purposeful, extraordinary things for her community. I loved that she said to me when we first talked is that what she wants to deliver to the world has to benefit the planet. She's done so much and created a ripple effect in her community. She's looking at new avenues to do more. And today she is looking so completely chilled when, obviously I see her face to face today compared to last week. So something changed. So we'll cover all of that. So we'll get started and welcome Jodie.
Thanks, Susan.
So what I was thinking is we might talk about your origin. And I think the idea that you're the 5th generation Noosa Shire girl and you were born in Cooroy, I was thinking, what's the best significant change you've seen in the area?
So for me, the best significant change for the area would have to be the way that we have grown or developed with the focus on keeping the environment protected, and the way we've kept it green, and the way we've not gone up, we've gone further out rather than putting high rises in and things like that. And I've seen a lot of places in the areas develop, and I think Noosa's handled this one quite well.
It's
great.
And what was it like? What was it like growing up here? What was the feeling like? A lot of people feel like you've got to come from the city and or go to the city to actually live a life. But what's your take on that?
Oh, no. So I went to the city for a very short period of time, and I decided it wasn't for me, and I came back to Noosa pretty quickly. And I found Noosa, growing up in Noosa was incredible. Obviously, there's a lot of things that have changed, like the footpaths along the national park. And I remember stubbing my toe 1,000 times going to Tea Tree Bay as a little kid. But I also remember walking those trails and recognising most of the faces. And that doesn't happen much anymore. But still, that's some of my memories that I'm very appreciative for. Roller skating down Goodchap Street. Oh my goodness, if you did that today, you'd get run over for sure. Riding horses where the library is now and along the river, and being able to, just that freedom that, I know you can't do that now. There's so many more people and so many more rules, and that comes with having so many more people.
And as being a little girl growing up here, though, did you feel like it was like you were living in a holiday town, or was this, what was it like living that way?
We were really lucky. There was a lot of caravan parks, and two of my friends happened to own the caravan parks. So we knew what Noosa was and would always be. It is tourist orientated. It's been like that forever. For the whole vibe of holiday season versus non-holiday season, we knew when you went to school, you don't really recognise the difference too much, except on the weekends it's not quite as busy. But on the holiday seasons, when there's so many more people and they're coming up and having their holidays and they're having a lot of fun, and you get to meet some fantastic people. I've met some great friends from the Brisbane area and Sydney and Melbourne. They used to come up here as kids, and they're all over the place now. They don't live in Noosa necessarily, but they don't live in Australia either. They're all over the place. But having those memories, and we had that common ground, and remember, it had its good points and its bad points, don't get me wrong. And the good points was you knew everybody, and the bad points was everybody knew you as well. So you go, how did my parents find out about that? And it was very much everyone knew everybody.
So there were caravan parks, but was it that people, I know that there's people that used to come down that were sort of like, the wealth of Gympie would always come down every single year since, the 40s. Was it like that? Were people coming down to their own little holiday houses or shacks, or was there any type of bigger accommodation then?
Oh, yeah, there was plenty of bigger accommodation, but people were happy with bringing their vans and their tents as well. The end of Hastings Street, the woods, was very famous, and walking distance to 3 different types of waters. Like you've got the beach on one side, you've got the river mouth on the end, and then you had the river with calm waters on the other side, all surrounding one caravan park. It was incredible. For the accommodation side of things, I think there was a lot of people that when they could, they bought investment property with the dream to retire in Noosa when they finished needing to be in the city. That was common.
Was the river mouth where it is now when you were young?
It's pretty close by, but it always changes. It changes every year, sometimes dramatically and sometimes very, very slightly. I had a wonderful picture of all the different changes over a period. I think it was every 2 years there was an aerial photo of the river mouth, and just going through that over a 20-year period, and I was amazed at how it would change so much and the difference between when it had rained and not rained. Yeah.
So the walls were there though, like the new, the man-made part of the woods was there, was it?
Some was, no, the woods ended where the caravan park was, and then they built out the extra, and then the rock walls were added as for protection to stop the extra addition to Hastings Street from washing away.
Okay, so you saw all of that going on.
Yeah, we got to see a lot of that and the changes involved in that, and then the different areas and how the infrastructure, like car parks, made a difference on where people would go, and different types of either tourists or small businesses where they pop up next. And it's interesting.
the other side of it is, what's the most detrimental change you've seen? And have you any ideas or solutions, if there's anything that you've seen that you think needs to be changed?
No, I think on the flip side of that is the development and people moving up here. I think that the only bad thing that I can see is that people that move up here don't know how to relax into the lifestyle that Noosa used to be. So that's changed. Then I don't think you can really suggest ways of going or changing that. So I think it was definitely a cruisy coastal town, and then as people moved here with a different desire for services and a different element of what was satisfactory or not, that then upped the ante to the point where sometimes people don't know how to just relax a little. Once you're used to something, you can't just give it up. If you used to have coffee at 5:30 in the morning and like Noosa was a sleepy town back then, it was quite common that shops wouldn't open until 7:30, and that just all started to slowly change, but there was enough need to service it. Whereas back in the old days, not as much of a need to service that.
I was thinking, Lisa, your sister, when I asked her what would she like to hear from you, and she said that you're very good at big picture stuff, and then you work your way through the frustrating things to realise your dreams. And she suggested that I ask you about the strategies that you go about accessing industry bodies and mentor groups to help you get the processes underway. So I was thinking in relation to that, we were talking about that affordable housing earlier. Would you like to talk about that now?
Yeah, I suppose in all of my little projects that I do, I look at the challenges and I think, can I do them? And I dissect them, and I have plan A, B, C and D. I aim for the plan A because that's the easiest and the best results. And as little hurdles come up, I tackle the bits that don't work and change and get advice and manipulate and work things out so that it can all work out for everybody. And I suppose one of the best things is we've got so many industries to help and to problem solve, and data and stats that we can then go, so do we need this? Yes. Who's the target audience? Who needs it the most? Does this fit them? Yes. Is it affordable? Does it fit their budget? Yes. And it's just like a set of little bouncy balls that you follow, and then before you know it, you go, hey, I could have a business out of this. And it's solving issues, it's ticking all the boxes and getting help from people. And once it's up and running, the marketing side of it to make sure that it is a success.
And you were talking about, I know you've got a few projects, that you're not like a woman who's just got one project going, as in your Black Ant Gourmet is obviously one major project you've got. But you were talking recently about, what you deliver to the world benefits the planet in all that you do. So that's important to you. And in the Noosa News just this week, I saw there was the affordable housing issue did come up, that, some, young couple, struggling to find accommodation, and that they're up against people now being able to pay 6 months rent in advance. And that's the competitive mark for one tenant over another tenant. Like, it's just quite extraordinary. So what is that work that you're thinking about doing in that respect?
Well, 7 years ago now, almost. Yeah, about 7 years ago, I got asked if I'd like to do an innovation masterclass, because I'd already done a couple of problem-solving things, and they got a group of us together, and Colin from Cooroy put us through our paces. It was a business coaching, but it was innovation-based. And we recognised problems and came up with a concept, and it was compact housing that would benefit the affordable housing crisis that I could see was happening then, but not as in your face as it is now, and which is looking like it could get worse in the very near future. And now it's become a little bit more urgent than what it was 6 or 7 years ago. So I've been working with my partner on, it's very similar to the tiny house talks and designs, but this it's not a tiny house, it's the next level up, and it's about compact housing with all the mod cons and little extras that give you extra space, extra design, and without losing any of the creature comforts. So I think as humans, having that slightly smaller footprint and being able to, if needed, utilise the common areas. Like Noosa's got so many amazing places like cafes and restaurants and national parks and places that you can get out and about, that having a small home is something that is achievable. I came up with our tag was live small to live a little, I think it was, just at our business coaching weekend that we were at last weekend, my daughter and I. And I just thought, if you don't have a massive debt and you can live in something that is smaller, it might free you up to do more things that you would normally do if you had a big house and a big mortgage and all those things.
So it's a little bit like how we've seen in the city, how everyone's living in more of a sort of studio type apartments or smaller dwellings, but they're obviously stacking up pretty high down in Brisbane and whatnot.
Yeah, no.
It's not stacking people up. It's
a little bit different. It's a little bit small, different concept, but I only pitched the idea to our local MP and mayor. Still in early stages. There's a couple of little hurdles that I don't think are a major issue yet, but I'll hear more about that in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, well, I won't ask you to divulge any more secrets, don't you worry.
No, that's all right. I just might need to adapt a couple of ideas, that's all.
Okay, but is that a mother-daughter project, is it?
No, that's a mother partner, so Brett and I have been sort of thinking about that. We're actually building a couple at the moment just for family and staff, and we've had the pleasure of doing a couple of small prototypes, and this is something we're just evolving and changing them and looking at ways that we can improve. And
you've also talked to me earlier about what I thought at first you said was a round earth home, but then you corrected me as a rammed earth home and recycled timber. So again, that's something that you've actually thought outside the common theme of housing. Is that something you've just done recently, or is it something that's been a project also for a long time, and do you live in it?
We started researching rammed earth probably about 4 years ago, and we loved the idea of it. We've had a Caulfield block home before, and we enjoyed the benefits of that. Cool in summer and warm in winter and all those things, but we thought there's got to be a more sustainable way of building. So we built a dam and we kept the dirt, and we made our house from dirt and recycled timber. Some of the timbers are new, and they were from trees that were already fallen or being cut down for fencing in the local area, and we hired somebody with a Lucas mill, and together the team milled a lot of the timber. Obviously not the timber for the roof, which is, pine and things like that, but everything below the roof line is either recycled timber or milled close by, timber from grown close by. And the concept there is the materials are local, they're producing work and income, the recycled stuff is obviously reused, that's good, and the labour was a little bit more than we were hoping, but at the end of the day, if it employs people and creates jobs, then that's another win. It's amazing to live in. The acoustics and the sound, and how it can be noisy outside, it's so quiet inside, and obviously the thermal benefits are twice as good as the Caulfield block, because the walls, I think these walls are 400 wide, and it's not mud brick and it's not straw bale, it's just formwork and layers of dirt rammed down with lime and deco, which is like a granite crumble, and a little bit of white cement for stability to tick all the boxes for engineering. And my partner Brett and his team have been working on this for 2 years, and it's amazing. It's called Mayan Farm. And during COVID, our cafe restaurant, which was the biggest part of our business, was shut down, and we suddenly realised how vulnerable we were. Pandemic, I didn't have that one covered. I needed plan E. But we decided that, you know what, we kind of like living in our tiny home and being minimalistic, and we decided that it would be smarter if we use this as an accommodation place to show off the benefits to others. At the moment, we're doing a 2-night minimum stay, and it's designed for 4 people, so 2 couples, but there's room for more. And just the space, it's very Tuscan, vintage industrial combination with a bit of a hippie vibe with the recycled timber and dirt walls. But yeah, we've had a few guests, which is cool.
Okay, so without naming names, you were talking about there being a helicopter pad there, so people can actually land there. Yeah. So obviously it's out there, is it? It's like it's out there to Melbourne.
Yeah. So we've had quite a few inquiries. One of the things that we do offer is we do offer that helicopter landing. The feedback that we're getting from our guests is wonderful. Just to escape. Beautiful views and just relax. Yeah.
Well done. Hey, I was thinking, so without missing it, because obviously, our chat will go pretty fast, I thought we'd just maybe talk to you about the Black Ant Gourmet, the origin of it and that ripple effect, as I talk about in coaching, that, one small thing, obviously it impacts many other lives. So just talk about that with me a bit, like the ripple effect out to your local farmers and, what's that been all about for you?
As a family, we decided we wanted to have a little bit more control over what we were putting on the table. And so we had a couple of pigs and a couple of lamb, and grew our own beef and a veggie garden, collected our own eggs and chickens and ducks, and we taught our children to be a little bit more sustainable. So we obviously were, being in Cooroy, we had our own water collection, and it was in rain tanks, and we had our own effluent disposal. As we got experience in that, and then we decided to move to Kin. We had the need for a commercial kitchen from a catering company, and from there we decided to go bigger on all the other things because we had a need, which was providing for our shop. But then the shop grew and the catering grew, and then I was struggling to do everything with my daughter and my partner Brett. They were the farmers, and I was in there, and we had a team, and my daughter was in the shop as well, and all the different things that we were doing, growing our own chickens and growing our own beef and growing our own pork, and all the rules and stuff that we had to do, like all your weigh bills, and you have to take it to the abattoir and then take it to the processing, to the butcher, and then deliver it, and all the health rules and everything involved with that. And the busier the business got, we just couldn't keep up. So then we just started to drop jobs and buy from other local farmers doing the same things. We were inspired by a guy in America called Joel Salatin, and I had the pleasure of meeting him at the J. Oh goodness, probably about 5 years ago now, maybe 4. That was amazing. He's obviously also passionate about what he does and loves tackling things and problem-solving things. So he's doing something a little bit outside the box over in there, which is animals that they use for the table are also providing a service and a job by fertilising and it's a massive symbiotic relationship or holistic approach to growing food, because you need both to do the job, and having the right cycle is important. So we sort of started to do that, and then got involved in a group called Noosa Slow Food and Country Noosa and all of these guys, and very quickly, it was very quickly established that supporting local has an amazing benefit for the whole community. Keeping the economy in a tighter unit with a village-like relationship is amazing for employment, for economy and everything. The produce is so much better as well, because you know where it's coming from, it's clean, it's fresh, not going all the way to the markets and then coming all the way back. There's all those benefits for the consumer and the producer.
You're in such rich country out where you are too, Kinkin. It's just so green, isn't it?
Yeah. And we've got all the Mary Valley and Gympie and I mean, when I say local, obviously it's not all happening in Kinkin, although we've got a fair bit going on out here. But as long as it's within that, 100k radius, there's some things that we would never be able to grow potatoes. In saying that, we have done it once. Yeah, little things. You need sandier soil. Gatton's great for potatoes and onions and all those things.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it is. Yeah, as a woman in business in a local town like you're in, what's the most wonderful thing you saw that changed in the local community with this whole COVID-19 disruption?
There were so many things. Everyone that I knew in our town felt for the other people. There was people that lost their jobs, people that had to close down their businesses, and a lot of people scared. There was a few people that doesn't think it's happening. That's, then everyone's entitled to their opinion, but at the same time, as a business that follows the rules that are laid down by government legislation, I have to follow what they say, and I have to go, right, well, these are the rules and this is what we do. So I suppose the best thing was a lot of people were happy to understand the changes and adapt to the changes that we've had to put in place for whatever reason. Suddenly they weren't allowed to come into the shop and they could only get takeaways. But we adapted pretty quick. I had a little bit of a meltdown at first because my 90-day plan kept getting thrown in the bin like every 24 hours. And then I had a little wig out and was about to spit my dummy out, and I had a bit of a phone call with my business coach and my accountability coach, and they said, just relax, don't do a 90-day plan, do a one-day plan. I'm like, oh, thank God for that. One-day plan it was for about 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that was all we could do, wasn't it, from around about March, because you just didn't know what was going to change.
Nope. It was, and it kept evolving, and nobody knew what was about to happen. That was one of the most unsettling times of my life, not knowing, not being able to look at what could happen based on past experience. So there's, in my lifetime and the documents that I have access to, there had never been a pandemic. So it was global, and it was like, well, which countries are affected? Oh my goodness, how's that going to affect this and how's that going to affect that? And I'm like, just breathe and not worry about it and just take it each day as it comes. So that was interesting.
I think most businesses that aren't health related, like me, obviously my old business, we did have to have a pandemic plan in our disaster recovery model for our business because we were going to be drawn in to the pandemic. Like I was going to have to supply nurses, but gosh, the amount of change that was going to make to my business, as in ramping it up, was insane. So I could see the other side. It's like that abyss where people are going, oh my God, are we going to survive this week with what they actually were up to financially and whatnot?
Yeah, that was tricky.
You have got quite a lot of amazing projects underway. So how do you actually manage that? How do you do that so that you're looking as chilled as you look right now? Because your sister would be telling me that, ask you about self-care, and last week we spoke and like, oh, I don't know about self-care, but you're looking really chill. So how are you being looking like that with all that going on in your head?
Oh, okay. So originally, as I got busier, I would just get spread thinner and thinner and thinner. This past weekend, we did a 4-day business coaching. It was pointed out to me that at some stage I have to let go and climb the ladder. We've got like a employment ladder. You start off as an employee, and then at the top, transition from owner to investor to entrepreneur. And I just had to climb that ladder one more rung, and then that let everyone underneath me climb a ladder as well. So on the weekend, I have pulled myself out of the cafe restaurant as advised, and I'm letting my team do, and with who I've got an awesome team. They're so good. They are kicking goals this last couple of weeks, and everyone's just stepped up, and they all pulled together, and I'm pretty much confident that I don't need to be there. I know.
I can see that change in you. It's like there's a change in your eyes and everything. You're just like, I'm glowing.
And having that confidence in your team members is, and I couldn't have probably done that without the business coaching that I got on the weekend. It's quite, and look, I'm still here. Trust me, I'm not involved in it anymore. I'm 100% involved. I've just transitioned to a different spot. I'll set up a new email address. I hand over my old email address to my 2OC, who's my daughter, who's taking over the management. And I'm going to be doing the jobs that I've been trying to do, finishing of the systems. I had that delegated, that wasn't done, so now I'm tackling it myself, which is great because I have all the knowledge, I have the ability, and I have the skills. I didn't have the time. So by standing down from my position of trying to be all, and mind you, in the middle of the cafe, so I'm trying to, you name it, I'm trying to invoice, I'm trying to pay bills, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I'm like, hi, how you going, hi, how you going? It's just crazy. So yeah, so now I have an office, and that's my place. Yeah.
Have you got a new title? What are you calling yourself as a title? Is there such?
No, I'm still the owner of the business, but I'm no longer in the business. I'm working on the business. I'll still pop in, don't get me wrong, be there, but nobody will come running to me with 7 problems. Jodie, what do we do with this? Jodie, I'm not sure what to do with this, because they'll have somebody else to go to that will problem solve, and I know they'll do good jobs, and we'll have an amended org chart, and everyone will have their KPIs, and I'll just be at the end of each week to start with going, how did it all go? I'm more managing a core team rather than being accessible to the whole team. And I'll be honest, if somebody comes to me and asks me a question that could be answered by somebody else, I usually redirect them. But that takes time too.
It's a fun step up in business that you're putting yourself through. I think, there's that space where you need to get to, my focus is doing the big good things and making that happen, because all the other stuff has to happen below you, but you've got to just get the focus. You can't be everything.
And I've realised, and haven't worked out why yet, but that's going to take a little while to unpack, I feel. But I've realised that for some reason I like to keep myself busy, and I'm easily distracted, and I love challenges, and I love problem solving, and I will work out why I do all these things. But in the meantime, I'm just going to focus on improving those, so I'm not distracted, and I am focused, and I follow through, and don't have so many projects on the go, and hand them over completely before I start the next, because that's how you get sprinted then.
You've done everything the way you've done, and you're successful, and now your team has got that as you as a role model. You know every part of what you've achieved, and you probably did need to do all that work, and it's okay now. As you said, you stepped up the next step in the ladder, so great. Hey, so how about we move to the ending little bits now? Do you have a favourite quote or a poem or a mantra that you call upon when you need it?
It's probably going to change soon, but it used to be a little saying. It was swimming, swimming, just keep swimming, because my sisters used to call me Dory.
Oh,
but not in a bad way, in a good way, because I would be like a million miles away chasing something, and then next minute I'd be like, oh, look at this, and away I'd go. The thing is, I'd always go back, and I'd always complete and push through to the other side. I'd just get busier and busier. So I actually kind of like it, because I think it's funny, because it suits who I am. I am always doing stuff and on the go, and like to be achieving, and do still like to see the beauty in things. So that's easily distracted when you live in a place like this, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so you probably have that next level up of, again, you'll probably come up with some new cool mantras as you're developing all the things you're doing at the next level
absolutely.
now. Yeah. Is there a favourite song that you sing out loud when you're driving from Kinkin to Noosa?
Yeah, it's driving anywhere. It's would have to be Feeling Good by Nina Simone. Good chance to let off some steam. The other one I love to sing, which my team don't necessarily, half my team love it, half of them don't. It's a Bohemian Rhapsody. And it's when they join in, it makes it so much more fun.
Hey, Jodie, I know you've got to get going. You've got a meeting soon. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time today and for our first little go at this last week when all that noise and rain just hit us from everywhere. And maybe you and I might be classified as the rainmakers in the area because it's raining here again right now. So
yeah, it is. Yeah, it started before we started talking.
Well, yeah, thank you again. And I think Lisa did a really good job in finding the right match to the podcast show by having you come on today. So I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. It was good fun.
All right. Well, thanks, Jodie.
Thanks, Susan.
So listeners, I hope you took something away from Jodie's episode today. I did, just by listening to her. It made me rethink some of the things that, I'm doing in relation to business. We've got a few businesses here that, not just coaching, that, I've got my husband's business and, just to hear someone who was born and bred in this area keep on working towards the betterment of her community and, the ripple effect this woman is creating by the types of projects that she's rolling out is incredible. And I'm sure she knows that. It was so lovely to see her today compared to last week. Last week, she was definitely in her business and, she just said, hey, I've made the shift of my mind to work on my business. And it is so incredibly important to spend so much more time on your business when you get to that level. Yeah, it was lovely to hear. So our next episode will be with an author from the Sunshine Coast, and she's going to tell us the origin of her story and her book. Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you so much for listening. I look forward to speaking to you soon.